Today, I want to talk about development of your foundational messaging. And this is an exercise that I have a lot of my clients take on before we really dive into any PR outreach, blog development, or regular social media content. I think at a high level, a lot of us know what our business does. But if we haven't taken the time to really distill our message, that can inhibit our ability to share it with others, whether it be in a high profile media interview, at a chamber event when you're networking with someone and they ask what you do, or if you're giving some sort of a presentation in front of a group of people. It's some people call it an elevator speech, but I think that really knowing your company's core messages is a lot more powerful than what that really implies. Somewhere along the way, I heard an Albert Einstein quote, and I believe it said something like, if you can't explain something simply, then you don't understand it well enough. And even though we can be completely immersed in the brands that we represent and companies that we own on a day to day basis, oftentimes what I come across are brands that don't know their brand well enough to simply convey what they do. And so today I want to talk about the message map, and it's a tool that I came across earlier in my career, though I wish I'd come across it much sooner. I had the great fortune of working with Trip Frolickstein. He is a consultant here in St. Louis, and he's absolutely brilliant. He's with Media Masters, and I won't give away all of the things that he teaches because he's absolutely brilliant. And if you can work with him, I recommend that you do. But I do recommend starting with this one piece. And it's something that's not exclusive to Trip, but he's done a great way of teaching it. And people call it a lot of things, but again, he calls it the message map. And it really helps you boil down and distill for your audience who you are, why you do what you do, and what it is that you do in a way that you can convey it quickly, repetitively, and so that they can take that message and walk away from your interaction confidently knowing what it is that you do and what value you may provide to them. So this is kind of the outline that you can use for the message map. As I said, when I'm asked to consult on a company's marketing strategy, regardless of their size or their focus, my first question is generally always the same. Do you have a message map or do you have a messaging guide? People use a lot of tools, and this is just one of those out there. And I really latched onto it because it's the simplest, and I'm a big fan of simplicity because I come from a nonprofit background and I've done a lot of work with small businesses. I own a small business, and so anything I can do to get to the point, hit a goal in terms of my business growth and move forward is something I personally find of value. My time is limited. I'm sure yours is as well, and so I just really love this method. So the first step in developing, this messaging outline is to identify kind of why you do what you do and what it is that you do, and find a way to work that into your messaging. So that core area that says your primary message. I mentioned earlier that I've had the great fortune of working with Trip Frolickstein. Definitely check him out, Media Masters. But he would call this your home base. I've heard people call it a number of things, and I've read up on it quite a bit because it really was the most powerful sort of foundational thing that I was able to learn. Actually, not even that early in my career. It came pretty late. I wish I would have learned it earlier because it is so simple. But it makes it possible for you to hone in on what your message is, because it's really easy to say, hey, get your message out there, get people to understand X, Y, or Z about your company. But if you haven't taken the time to really condense your message or boil it down into its finest, most powerful points, then odds are you're probably going to miss some opportunities. So, I really recommend taking the time to figure this out. So first ask yourself, what do you do? And then why do you do it? What's your mission is usually what's going to fit into that why space, but for some people that's an area that they really haven't had a chance to develop. If you're taking the time to really work through this piece, you're going to find yourself having a really strong competitive advantage over a lot of other companies, probably some that you are looking at as mentors in your field. And so, just by having a really clear idea of what it is you do and why you do it, you will have just that edge over the competition. And so I'm going to show you an example really quick of one organization that was able to distill down why they do what they do and what they do. And they did use this message map. This is Pact Community Center, and I kind of have my screen shrunk down here, but what you can see is that they are a Christian nonprofit that offers social services in St. Louis, and they were able to kind of boil down that their why here is that they want to create brighter futures for families at risk in North St. Louis County. They're a nonprofit that offers social assistance and financial and housing assistance, and they also offer educational programs to break the cycle of poverty. So for them, there's a lot going on there in just a few sentences, but they were able to say why they want to do it. They also worked in there that they are faith-based to share that, part of the motivation behind their mission is faith driven. And then they said, we do this by providing these services to families in need. And these are the services. These are kind of the major areas of what their work is: educational programs, food assistance, financial and housing assistance. And I really love the way they were able to simplify this. And underneath each of those umbrellas, there's a lot going on. They have summer camps and after school programs and food pantries and a lot of things happening, but they were really able to distill their message into just a few groups there, and it keeps it really simple. And that's a great elevator pitch that they can use with the press or in a blog post, and it really guides all of their messaging. So again, what do you do? Why do you do it? And then some supporting ideas beyond this. If you were to take it and break it down at a really micro level, how do you do it? And essentially, when you're done with this exercise, this should tell you what you want everyone to know about your company in 15 seconds or less. It should be something you can pull out of your pocket, and when you're doing a roundtable at the Chamber of Commerce or you just meet somebody at a networking event, they should be able to understand very quickly what your motivation and passion is and what you're doing to fulfill that. So the ways that you can use this message map within your content, the Pact Community Center was a really great example. Other ways is that you can you use each of these supporting points that should group your areas of service or your products or your whatever it is that you offer. You can use that to match the navigation on your website. Each of these can inform your future social media content. So if, for example, Pact Community Center, what I recommended to them was, they've got educational programs, food services, and these other financial and housing services. And so they literally just rotate through each of those areas with their content to make sure that their supporters and the people that follow them on their various channels have a well-rounded perspective about the work that they're doing. So the success that you're going to achieve as we go forward is going to probably be directly related to this, just because you've taken the time to find some clarity here. You'll find, and we'll talk about this more throughout, that this is going to be something you visit before you have an interview with the media. This should be something that you visit anytime you make a major change to your website or when you're developing your content calendar.